We're back with our Game Changer series. Today's guest is Steve Parsons with Bear Valley Solutions. We are talking today about life lessons through sport. Let's get right after it. Step into the arena of game changers. With me, Robin Finley, where every setback is a setup for a comeback. Together, let's explore the strategic plays, teamwork dynamics, and resilience found in sports, applying them to the world of business for transformative conversations and lasting impact. Remember, we never lose. We either win or we learn. We are back for another episode of Game Changers here with Steve Parsons from Bear Valley Solutions. Last episode, we talked about leadership skills and strategies. Today, we are talking about sports and leadership. We'll get right after it like we always do. Jump right in. First question for you, Steve. How has sport influenced your leadership journey?
It's been instrumental, really. I mean, that's why we're here. It's how we know each other.
100%.
It's how we met. You know, I was, like I said before, I chased down an NHL playing career and an NHL coaching career and an NHL scouting career and an NHL agent career for the better half of my professional career has been pursuing that. But the lessons I learned there, the amount of opportunities you have to interact with people, meet people, evaluate talent, connect with strangers, connect with old friends, colleagues, businesses, looking after something bigger than yourself, which is usually a team, and having a play in there. I think it's really helped me understand my place in an organization. Sometimes I'm the healthy scratch forward and sometimes I'm the general manager. And so having appreciation for all of the different roles in between, I guess a similar comparison would be a kitchen, you know, so you start as a dishwasher and end up as a chef. You know, you start in the field and on a rig and you become the vice president of sales. I mean, those things happen. And I think along the way, the people that go through those processes, they really learn appreciation for the roles. They learn to support one another. And for me, it's been instrumental in not only those skills developing, but of course, the network and the ongoing, you know, I guess, camaraderie that comes with it.
I mean, our show's called Game Changers. It's about the connection between sports and business. And you're in a pretty special situation that you actually got to be in the business of sport. So I think that's a really great perspective. And yeah, I appreciate that and looking forward to hearing the rest of your answers. So how did your coaches approach team building when you were, I mean, whether it was in a business structure of the sport of hockey or as a player as well?
Sure. No, I haven't been coached, you know, formally in 20 years. So, you know, going back to those days, that was pre-camera phones and you know, and
thankfully, right?
There was still some debauchery going on, and that was the most common way they did it with grown men. You know, it was a night out, and that was a big part of the culture. As I evolved into organizations as a coach or a scout, I started working more at a peer level with the management group. Of course, they were the bosses, but what I noticed they did consistently, at least the successful ones, the kindness they had, the appreciation they had, the patience they had for people, the time they made for the bus driver, for the room attendant, for the season ticket holder. You know, those kinds of people, they make up the fabric of the team. And so once you kind of get into the realm of managing the organization, you start looking at what makes your organization important. And so from a business standpoint, that would relate to our customers and to our service companies and to our contractors and, you know, the people that help us be successful. So you really learn a lot of appreciation through that. And I think that as the groups and organizations develop and evolve, I think if you have a more altruistic approach to everybody, I think that you get a little more done, and there's just a little bit more passion involved.
Well, I think people buy into the process when you include them, and I like what you talked about, how, you know, treating you qualified it with the ones that were successful, and, you know, knowing who the ticket sellers are and things like that. I mean, I think we do that in business. I know when I've interviewed people for sales jobs, sometimes you take them for lunch, you see how they treat the service staff. Again, it goes back to the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So yeah, those are some pretty awesome lessons that you've learned along the way. What are some of your sports lessons that you've learned, and how do you apply them to life and business?
I think the main thread of it all is be really good at what you do. I think if you're good at what you do in sport and in business, a lot of things will take care of themselves. And so Sometimes I was a goal scorer, and sometimes I was the enforcer. And I had to make sure that I was good at either. I wasn't very long, the goal scorer, so I often became the enforcer.
Yeah.
But I was a defender, and I found my niche like that. And so in hockey, you know, I learned that I had to be good at what I did. And in business, I had to learn to be good at what I did. And I realized some limitations early in my professional career that forced me to look at myself in the mirror and decide if that's the path I wanted to really pursue. And so I've made some changes along the way to do what I do well more often, really. You know, I spoke earlier about putting the right person in the right chair at the right time. I'm trying to do that with myself as well. Yeah. Right? I try to recognize what I like doing, what I'm good at, and I try to take that kind of mindset into what I do day to day. And it's made a huge, huge difference in my career. The last 10 years, I had a friend of mine said to me one day, he says, you know, you talk like you're in the oil business, you talk like you're in the hockey business, but the sooner you figure out you're in the people business, the easier things are going to be for you. Right. And from that day forward, everything just kind of opened up for me.
Well, it's very important, I think, like you talked about, you know, what you're good at and knowing your role and do your job. That doesn't mean your role and your job can't change. I had similar experiences, mostly in lacrosse, where my role changed too. But yeah, it's being able, and then being able to adapt. It doesn't mean you're staying stagnant in that role. You can keep on progressing and moving towards other areas because you've got lots of you know, skills and talents that can always be developed further. So yeah, I love that answer, Steve. Thanks for that. Last one for this episode is, how do the sports connections you made help you in business?
Man, it's crazy. When I first moved to Calgary, a lot of the people that I met in hockey were guys that I'd played with or against. And then I started coaching, and quite often there were guys that worked in the industry that I would see downtown or do some business with occasionally. And now some of the teenagers that I coached 15 years ago are now professionals downtown. And I have business relationships with players that I used to coach. I guess the endorsement of being able to coach with somebody or work with a family or recruit them into your hockey club or coach their team for a year and really have a positive experience, it lends a ton of credibility to who you are as a person. And I can tell you I've received more than one job offer, several probably, that were directly related to how I conducted the teams that I ran or their interpersonal relationships. So taking that and then doing something with it and proving that person right and staying consistent on feeding the pipeline of you know, community engagement, and whether I'm coaching or helping or just go watch my friend's kid play, and you know, and just give an honest feedback on his kid, right? And say, hey, listen, like, you know, you could probably work a little harder, or he played great, take it easy on him. Sure. You know, like quite often it's the latter. It's like, he's playing good, he's fine. Like you're calm down, you're all right. And then having those kinds of, I guess, currencies to help the community, it just makes me, I think, you know, just more valuable, more useful to others, right? And as we lead, we want to be, you know, we want to be useful. And, you know, I think you told me once, your dad said, always be useful. Was that some of your dad's old saying?
Oh yeah, he's an old cowboy, lots of those.
You've dropped that line on me a few times, so it helps to be useful.
Well, I think it's important, you know, there's the things that you learn as a player and the connections you have as a player, like you said, the other players that you've played with, but then, you know, you've done the same thing as I have. You've moved into coaching, right? So coaching is another key aspect. So again, you get the relationships with the parents, and now we're of a certain age where those kids are now, like you said, professionals. And I think the coaching reveals even more about your character, I think. So I think that's really great that you're doing that and giving back to the sport. And I think that's something too that we've talked about lots. We share similar coaching philosophies. So I think it's super important.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. And as a player, you know, I have a bit of a line where I've been cut, traded, suspended, you know, beat up, benched, scratched, sent down. All these different things have happened to me over the years. Chewed out, right? All these things, punched in the face, hit from behind. You know, these sorts of things that happen as a player. That doesn't happen at work, right? I can go to work and I can mess up, and no one's gonna bench me or make me watch everybody else work.
Business is easy, right? You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Really, you know, I think it's given me a level of courage to go for things, put my hand up to try things that, you know, I'm not afraid of failure, right? I kind of embrace the notion of it.
Yeah, so, you ground it out for sure, like that list of all those things that you've gone through, like that's
yeah, I mean, and I'm not alone, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that, either literally or metaphorically speaking. And, you know, some people grasp the confidence from that, and some people see it as a failure. And hey man, I'm still standing, and I feel like it's a success.
Well, thanks again for being here on this episode. We're going to wrap this one up for today. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, they can get a hold of me. LinkedIn's probably the best way, or bearvalleysolutions.com. It's our website. And yeah, see you around.
Thanks again. On our next episode, we're going to talk about developing leaders. We will see you next time on Game Changers. Thank you for joining me, Robin Finley, on this journey through Game Changers. As the final whistle blows, let's carry the wisdom of sportsmanship, determination, and adaptability into our business endeavors. Stay tuned for more enlightening discussions on the winning strategies that transcend the field and the boardroom.